I am live, queuing up theme song right now.
You got a question for RLN? You got a question for
No.
RLN?
Oh, no.
It's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one. You got a question for RLN? It's time to get some answers, baby. Oh, now we getting real. Yeah, time to get down. You gonna feel good now. Real good. That's what I'm talking about.
And time to start the show. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. I am your host, global happiness specialist, inner peace practitioner, oracle, Reiki practitioner. Did I say that already? Reiki practitioner. Boy, oh boy. Fitness instructor, student, even a mother. I'm somebody's mother. But most importantly, a student, ongoing. When I say happiness specialist, I'm talking about how do I experience more happiness along this journey? Is it even possible to maintain and sustain an energy, a personal vibration of contentment, of peace? And that's my definition of happiness, the ability to maintain and sustain an energy of peace regardless of what happens and regardless of what doesn't happen. And boy, oh boy, the good news is happiness is a practice. You know what? I used to do this show standing up and now I'm sitting. So I'm going to next week, can I stand this stuff up right now? I wonder if I can. Let's see. Up. Hold on. Live. Yes, I can. I'm going to stand up like I used to do before my son and I. Yes, standing. Okay. Hold on. Camera, standing over here, center. Oop. Well, that doesn't center me. Okay. Anyway. Talk about production in the moment. Okay, back to the topic. When I say happiness specialist, and I do say that I've been practicing, researching, studying for over 45 years. I consider myself the leading expert on the topic. And again, happiness is a energy, it is a vibration, it is a state in mind. It is ongoing. It is rooted in contentment, rooted in peace, rooted in trust, rooted in practicing not resisting anything in the present moment. Question: can other people hurt your feelings? Can other people offend you? Can other people disappoint you? Do you blame your people for how you feel? Do you blame your circumstances for how you feel? What about your emotions? What are your thoughts on emotions and feelings? There's nothing wrong with accomplishments, titles, wealth, accolades, fame, trophies, awards, social media likes, and amassing millions of followers. But it's time to tell the truth. Not one of those listed equals to, will add to your happiness. I was talking to someone very well known this week, and she was mentioning Walter O'Brien. Now, if you follow me, you know that you've heard the story a million times. This is in my latest book, Program for Happiness, Exposing the Untold Truth. This is on Amazon. And the chapter that I wrote, let's see I just want to make sure I get the chapter that I wrote is about my meeting with Mr. O'Brien. And Walter O'Brien is you can Google him. He's supposedly worth $50 million. He has an IQ of 197. I've heard that's gone up. And he's the inspiration for the CBS show Scorpion. And I met him in September 2021 at a networking event. Hold on a second. I have to get this right. You know what? I'll just do this instead of looking through the book. I will just, here we go. A moment in the life of a toxic, selfish, delusional, and unimportant happiness specialist. And when I met Mr. O'Brien, I was curious to just get to know him. I've never talked to anybody with 197 IQ. So I introduced myself, and he said, I wouldn't, and I said, I'm a happiness specialist. And he said to me, I would never hire you to work in any of my companies because what you do is toxic. I said, toxic happiness specialist, as I was laughing. I said, please tell me more. And he started to tell me that he told me that I've wasted 35 years of my life studying and pursuing happiness. It's 45 years. I contributed zero to the planet. Searching for happiness and inner peace is delusional. What I've accomplished can't be measured. Therefore, I have accomplished nothing. I'm selfish. On and on and on and on and on. And my question to you, my dear audience, when I asked you, can other people offend you? Can other people disappoint you? Can other people make, quote unquote, make you feel a certain way? And the answer is absolutely not. However, the practice, it's a practice. Happiness is a practice skill. Contentment is a practice skill. Maintaining inner peace is a practice skill. And so what do you practice? And that's why I'm here to share with you as many as are inspired to practice. When I say practice what? Practice letting go of, practice being able to recognize the programmed behaviors, the programmed beliefs, the programmed emotions. Have you, this thing about getting triggered, and I will get to today's topic soon. This thing about getting triggered or having your buttons pushed, if you notice that it happens automatically. So you see something, you hear something, a person uses a word, and you're instantly triggered, instantly buttons pushed. Well, guess what? That's a program. That's not who you really are. That is who you have been programmed to react to. And so you are either responding to life or reacting to life in any moment, responding or reacting. And all of reactions are a program. And that is the key, that is the secret, that is the underlining the least common denominator is the programming. And the programming causes a vast majority of suffering. It's the programming causing the suffering, not the actual event. The programming of what you believe and what you think is true. I was also, and by the way, in this book, Program for Unhappiness, I list 56 program behaviors that subtract. I was looking at, and then I'll get back to the point. I was looking at online, and one of this, he's also a global voice, and he said, and this is a tough one. Put your seatbelt on. This is a tough one. He said, if you don't hate evil, you don't love God. That was the comment. If you don't hate evil, you don't love God. Now, listen, that's his perspective. That's his one perspective. And the universe, source, God, whatever you want to label it, is is beyond this one way of thinking. And in fact, if you cannot manage, scratch that, if I cannot manage to come up with more than one perspective to define, to analyze, to conclude more than one perspective, I know that it's a program, and it's a deep program, and it's deeply seated. It's so deep. It's impossible. It's almost impossible to say this is a program or this is the truth. And I have to share that the majority of what the masses believe is the truth is just a program. Let me get back to today's topic. Oh, okay. Well, before I do that, let me go back to Walter O'Brien. Why was I able to take it lightly, to laugh, and to continue to talk to Mr. O'Brien and even ask him for a selfie? Where's my selfie of Walter O'Brien? I can find it really quickly. Search. So this gentleman who said, I've wasted my life. I've contributed zero to the planet. Searching for happiness and inner peace is delusional. What I've accomplished can't be measured. Therefore, I've accomplished nothing. I'm selfish. I'm toxic. This man that said that to me, I asked him for a selfie, and I couldn't wait. Why? Because the practice works. The practice works. And the practice is eliminating, putting a spotlight on all of the programs that are just not true. And what are the programs? What had I been practicing? Thanks for asking. Number one, words innately do not have any power. I know that the world teaches, preaches, words are powerful. Words. But the truth is, energy is powerful. Energy is powerful, but words are just letters strung together. But the belief is, yeah, the word is the power, but it's the energy behind the word. And you can say hate, you can say any word with a different energy attached to it. In fact, I'm very aware of the water experiments where the water changed its look based on a word, the word hate, and then the water changed into a different. I was looking at somebody that was using their hands online. I said, "Boy, that sure is annoying," and look at me doing it. And that's the other thing I want to share. But let me get back to the scientific experiment, that if I use that word hate, it's the energy behind hate. Because if I said the word hate with an energy of love, if I used this disrespect or any kind of word that you are triggered by, my dear audience, with love behind it, there is a different response. There is a different vibration, and you can feel it. It's not the word. Words are not innately powerful. Words are not powerful. So it doesn't matter what someone calls me or what someone says about me. A word. Now, I wasn't always like this, but in what is it? June 29th, 2025, there is not one word you can call me that I'm going to respond to, or that's going to have the ability to take my level here or here. Not one word. I don't care what it is. Think of the worst. Now, listen, I can say that a couple of years ago. No, this is when I was in Oregon. So maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, there was a word that one of the gentlemen said, was talking about another woman. He called her cunt. And I was highly offended. Scratch that. Rebecca was highly offended. But you know what? Rebecca's over that now. Scratch that, Rebecca. That word has zero power now. So if I can do it, you can do it. When I say happiness is a practice skill, if I can practice not allowing any words to make me feel here or here, I mean, I'm talking, you can call me anything. Who's more powerful? The person that can be offended or the person that can't be offended? Back to that. So number one that's number one of the practice. Words are not powerful. Number two, it's never personal. I don't care what anybody calls you. I don't care what anybody says about you. I don't care if they're staring at you, if it's your twin sister or brother. It's never personal. And whatever negative name or label somebody calls you, know that they're describing themselves. And if I can't scratch the you, if I can't manage to come up with more than one perspective, then guess what? How stuck is that? Talk about limiting. More than one perspective. And that point, going back to, hold on. Okay, going back to, if you label, name, point fingers at, describe anybody else in a negative way, you name it, you claim it. You spot it, you got it. So these people, anyone that says, and I'm talking about from narcissist to racist to arrogant to what are the other mean things people say? Arrogant to whatever you call someone else, whatever you point the finger and call someone else, you really are talking about and describing yourself. I know that's a hard one. You name it, you claim it. You spot it, you got it. Prejudice, they're prejudiced. Well, really? Well, that means you must be. Ooh, that hurts. Back to today's topic. Oh, you know what I want to share? Let me share something fun. There is a gentleman online. He's on Instagram, and his name is Fulton Lee, Fultonlee, Fulton Lee Music. And if you haven't heard of him, he's very talented, very creative, comes up with a lot of different original songs. And I don't know if it was a couple weeks ago or maybe 3 weeks ago, he sits down and he composes songs right on the spot. And this woman sat down, and her name is Karen Lynette, and she's a professional singer, but she didn't divulge that. And Fulton, you got to see it. He sits. You know what? Let me see if I could pull it up. Hold on, because my description is a little. Okay, here we go. Fulton Music. Fulton Lee Music. Fulton Lee Music. Here we go. Okay. Oh, he has 1.9 million followers. Fulton Lee Music. Fulton Lee Music. And you see this sign right here? Or this one. This one here. This one. How do I make this straight? Right here. It says, sit down. No, it says, sit here if you can sing. Sit here if you can sing. And so this woman, her name is Karen Lynette. So she sat down, and I'm telling you, it is 1 minute, 2 minutes of the best feel-good moment. I'm not going to say anything else. If you're interested, it's really, really good. Fulton Lee Music. That's a free plug. You're welcome, Fulton. When I have my shows here, I plan on asking Fulton to be one of the musicians on the show. I digress. So look at this. It's 9:22 Pacific time at this moment. And now I'm getting to today's topic. The enemy within. The enemy within. What the hell does that mean? I've been talking about, let me see if I can raise this up. Oops, let me see. One of these days I'll have a studio with production people, but it's not today. I've been talking about the mind and the thoughts and the incessant, it's just nonstop for the last few weeks. And this is a continuing focus on the mind and how the mind is not a friend. And when I say a friend, I'm talking about in a limited capacity. If I, and I'm using that I, rely on Rebecca's mind to bring peace, to bring to bring order, to bring balance, to bring acceptance to all moments, to live in the moment, to live in the present moment, guess what? I'm screwed. The mind is good for, and not to be hating on the mind, the ego, whatever you want to call it, the thoughts that are never ending, the thoughts that just pop in as soon as I wake up. The practice is to, number one, live with constant conscious awareness. There is nothing that I say, nothing that I respond to without being consciously aware of what I'm saying and the intention behind it. That's number one, the practice living consciously. And I mean in every moment, even to the point, hi, good morning. How was your weekend? Unconscious words. The mind, speaking for myself, the mind is not to be hated, is not to be is not to be, okay, scratch that, is only to be used to its capacity. What is to its to not to its capacity, but to its purpose. And its purpose is to make sure I get on a plane, make sure I go to my doctor's appointments, dentist appointment, make sure, thank you for help for reading, writing my list of things to do. The mind has a limited job. I am not going to use this mind for analyzing. I'm not going to use this mind for theorizing. I'm not going to use this mind to make a conclusion. I'm not going to use this mind to reason or to come up with a judgment. Well, this mind always has judgments as to what happened, why it happened, what I could have said. The mind is constantly active and constantly sharing information, quite frankly, that I didn't ask for. And so when I say I didn't ask for, it's really practicing separating myself. When I say myself, some people say higher self, but separating the awareness, the side of me, the entity that is all consciousness. And so throughout the day, either I'm living as consciousness, as awareness, or I'm living as a human, which is led by the mind. Oh, by the way, the universe gave me an assignment a couple of days ago. Oh, It gave me a job, it gave me assignment, it gave me a responsibility. And it is. And you know what? And I'm going to encourage you to jump on too. And this was my assignment. It happened early in the morning before I went to the gym. Maybe 5:30 a.m. The universe told me very clearly, be my representative. The universe said, scratch that mind. The universe said, be our representative. What do you mean be our representative? Be our representative. Represent universal behavior in your little human body, in your little humanness. Represent us. Represent us in this human form that you're in. And I will admit that it took me back. You know, I was startled, shocked. What? Yeah, be our representative in the world. At the moment, I started crying and, whoa, be our representative. That means I can't. Yeah, be our representative. Practice being our representative. Using that word practice as opposed to try, work, it is more of a soft, easy energy. Practice being our representative. Back to the mind and back to the enemy within. I challenge you, my dear audience, to pay attention to all of the noise, all of the noise inside, all of the noise coming here, all of it. Pay attention. Practice detaching from that noise. Practice trusting and knowing that that noise is not you. Practice believing, trusting, and knowing that that noise only has one perspective. Practice trusting and knowing that that noise 90, I'm going to say 100%, 99.9% is never true. It is just a loop. It is just a recycling of thoughts, beliefs, stories that if dissected and looked at can be found to be untrue, unworthy, scratch that unworthy, unreliable, and not the truth. More importantly, not the truth. This spewing out statements that the masses just take to as truth is part of the reason for the suffering. Especially those programmed beliefs. Let me try to come up with something that I can share. Program beliefs. I mean, I'm so opposed to the programming that it's difficult. Well, just like I mentioned earlier, the belief that if you don't hate evil, you don't love God. That is a program, and that is not the truth. And even on so many different levels, defining evil. I get it. I promise you, I get the humanness. But God, what I believe is that God, the universe source, wants to experience all of this crap going on here. And in fact, it was I don't remember the source, but it was one video that said, if you were the creator, I know this is way out there. If you were the creator of all there is, why would you limit? I know now I'm going out of my lane here. Why would you limit the experiences? If you are the creator of all that there is, wouldn't you want to experience all of it? Again, out of my lane, but I just threw that in. And I really do believe that whether my pea brain can comprehend, why would someone want to experience what the masses would believe? Hell no. In fact, I'm going to throw this out. This was probably 15 years ago. I attended Abraham Hicks workshop, and I'll never forget what Abraham said through Esther Hicks. And this reincarnating into another entity, reincarnating, even if you're an animal, reincarnating. And Abraham said, there are animals that reincarnate for the purpose of being eaten. And I know that is very difficult to understand, very difficult to conceive, to believe, but this was the message. This was the message. It's very difficult to understand it. There would be animals that would reincarnate for the purpose of getting eaten. I know, I'm out of my lane. Let me get back to my lane. Back to the enemy within. When I talk about the enemy within, I really practice focusing on in its concept, the string of stories, the string of thoughts, the string of words. And all conclusions talk about limited beliefs, limited stories. You know, one of the things that this world is saying now and sharing now is everybody loves a story, and you got a story, share your story. And there are people here, there are people that share the same damn story for decades. In fact, there's a gentleman that I know who was at 9/11. That was 2001. Yeah, 2001. 30, 40 years later, it's the same story. Not to say, but do you realize the same stories regurgitating the same stories over and over and over and over again? And I know the program masses love a story. I get it. But I challenge anybody that has this continuing and this defining. It's like it's like handing out a business card. Oh, this is horrible. It's like handing out a business card with your story on it. This is my story. This is who I am. This is my story. Based on this story, this is who I am. My question is, and my challenge is, who would you be? What would you be? What would you do without your story? Not holding on to the story. Who would you be? What would you do? What would you accomplish? What would you experience without the story? Now, if somebody asks, hey, what's your story? But it's just an epidemic of story and people and program people get attached to, and oh, that's their story, and now you're stuck with it. Now you're stuck in here with this story that keeps going over and over and over again. I don't know. I have some stories that I've shared more than once for sure, but my life is not my life is not defined by any story of my past. Absolutely not. This life, this moment is not defined by any story from yesterday. And unless I'm being interviewed or writing a book or somebody asks me, I am not regurgitating a story 100 times, 1,000 times for decades. Sorry. And now you know why I don't have any friends. So when I talk about the enemy from within, the enemy within, it is just to remind you to be conscious of when you're analyzing, when you're theorizing, when you're coming up with a conclusion, when you're reasoning, when you're making judgments, when you're thinking about someone else, or even thinking about yourself. Know that that mind is as tricky as you think. It is so tricky, and it will come up with so many different disguises, and it will weave its way in. For what purpose? To stay alive. The mind is fueled by a belief that, yes, a belief in identifying. I will be damned if I identify with the mind. There is no peace there. There is no calm there. There is always turmoil. The mind is constantly going. The mind, there is a constant need for more stimulation, more activities, more everything external. The mind, there is no peace in that mind. None. That doesn't last. That lasts, I should say, that lasts. So that's it. The mind from the enemy within is the mind, is the ego, whatever you is this constant, relentless. And I'll tell you, if you're not conscious, and if you're not aware, self-aware, and if you are just going through life with this external things bouncing off of you, and then you react to external things, you are, I won't say screwed. I won't say that either. Well, that's the end of today's show. Thanks for listening. Reality Spirituality is heard every Sunday at 9 a.m. and now Pacific time. And my website is RebeccaNorrington.com. Follow me on X at RL Norrington. LinkedIn is Rebecca Norrington. My Instagram handle is Reality Spirituality. My YouTube channel is growing organically. Thank you. MD, feel free to check out the YouTube shorts I have on the channel. My first book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, was published in 2014, but my latest book, this book, and before you get the book or after you get the book, get some seat belts, crash helmet, hazmat suit, because this will trigger and this will push buttons. Program for Unhappiness, Exposing the Untold Truth. It's on Amazon. I highly recommend it. And that's not coming from my ego. If you are serious about this journey, my favorite quote from Abraham is, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. And it is about the journey. And in fact, I'm doing this late today. In fact, study 5 most common regrets of the dying. The 5 most common regrets of the dying. This was a study by a hospice nurse. Her patients had days to live, weeks to live, months to live. And she asked them, what are your 5 biggest regrets? And they kept coming up over and over and over again. And the 5 biggest regrets of the dying. I wish I would have pursued my dreams and aspirations and not the life others expected of me. I wish I didn't work so hard. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings and speak my mind. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. Some of me you can let go of. I wish I had let myself be happier. And that's all I'm doing every week, all day long, every day, every moment, is sharing with people how to experience this thing called happiness, how to maintain and stay rooted in an energy and a vibration of contentment. So until next time, my dear audience, I want you to remember who the hell you are. You are a physical extension of the universe, always growing, always changing. And in fact, monitor your growth. Monitor your growth. Be aware of it. Celebrate your growth. Be kind to yourself. You cannot be kind to anyone else if you're not kind to yourself, if you're not kind to self. So that's a practice. And that means accepting yourself in every moment, regardless of what you do, regardless of what you say, regardless of where you are, regardless of what the world sees. Be kind and know that that this journey and this moment in time has a purpose. And it's not about doing, it's about being and being the purpose. And the purpose is to express, to allow God, the universe, to express through you without judgment, without resistance, without with all trust. You've been listening to Reality Spirituality Radio with yours truly, global happiness specialist, Rebecca L. Norrington. And remember, happiness, inner peace, and contentment are all practice skills. And I promise you, the more you practice, the more peace you're going to find, the more contentment you're going to feel. It will feel like life slows down. It feels like shoulders are down. It's a place that has taken, I'm 69 now, almost 70 in 6 months. Thanks. 70. And it is a place that has taken, I'm not even going to say a long time. It has taken the right amount of time to get to. Thank you for watching. Have a conscious week. I got to cue up my theme song again. Of course that didn't work. Hold on. Or you can just say goodbye. You know, I have to get back into my laptop. The password is not working, which is surrender trust. That's the password with an year behind it. Yay! I'm in. Queuing up the password. Queuing up the password. Not the password. Queuing up the theme song. She's crazy.
Yeah, keep your ears open for this one.
Spirituality.
You got a question for RLM? And trying to get some answers, baby.
Now we can real.
Get down. You're gonna feel good now.
Until next week. Until next week, baby. Until next week.